my favorite draft, the team that I felt did the best, was the Minnesota Vikings. They had a plethora of picks, 15 total picks in this draft. But there's only one pick that I thought they bombed on, and we'll get to that later. But if you look at their first 4 picks, at pick 22, they took Justin Jefferson. Then they traded down at pick 31 and took Jeff Gladney. In the second round, they took Ezra Cleveland. And in the third round, they took Mississippi State cornerback Cameron Dantzler. Those 4 picks, I thought they absolutely nailed. Justin Jefferson, they needed a receiver to replace Stephon Diggs. And I'm not a big fan of teams saying, oh, hey, we traded away this player, let's just draft the next one, because in a player like Stephon Diggs, you're never going to truly replace him. But they needed a wide receiver, and Justin Jefferson was a guy that kind of fell into their laps. A lot of people thought he'd go to the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of people thought he might go in the top 20. And here you're getting a guy that could play in the slot, that you know for a fact he can come in and be a slot receiver. At 6'1", he's got the speed and the quickness to create separation underneath. He's got the speed to go deep. I think he has the skill set that you can move him outside. So now you have him and Adam Thielen to kind of pair off of each other. You also mix in some of the other guys that they've got, Tajay Sharp, Obabisi Johnson, and they've improved their wide receiver. And it's not going to be, no one's going to replace Stephon Diggs, but I think Justin Jefferson's a guy that would really complement Adam Thielen quite well. That 31st pick, Jeff Gladney, they get a guy who was one of my favorite cornerbacks in the 2020 NFL draft. He may not be the biggest guy, under 6 foot, but he's tough, he's physical, and he's got good length, he's got good leaping ability. You go and watch his game against Texas, and he going against 6'6" Colin Johnson. He battled with him play in and play out all game long. Yes, he gave up some bigger catches, but he fought back and he was able to go up and knock some balls out at the catch point. I think you're seeing a lot of teams with their cornerbacks kind of mix them up. You don't have, a bunch of 6'3" corners. You have guys that can play bigger receivers. You have guys that can play the smaller, quicker receivers. The Vikings have gotten Mike Hughes. They drafted in the first round a couple years ago. Now they have Jeff Gladney. Jeff Gladney will be kind of, I think he could play in the slot. He could play the outside. You're going to match him up with, those smaller, quicker guys, whereas Mike Hughes will take the bigger type receivers. And so I love this pick for that. I think he was a first-round caliber player. So not only were they able to get him, but they were able to trade back and get him. Their second-round pick 26, was probably one of my favorite picks of the second round, and I think one of the best values. I like Ezra Cleveland a lot. I actually mocked the Vikings to take Ezra Cleveland in the first round with one of their picks, just because I thought he was a perfect fit for what they want to do. They're a zone blocking scheme. They've got Gary Kubiak on their roster on their coaching staff. And Ezra Cleveland is perfect for that zone blocking scheme. He's ultra athletic. He moves well. He's got good lateral agility. So he should fit very well into what they want to do. And it also helps them because they've got Riley Reif out at left tackle. And they're going to move him inside to guard. And so you move Reif from left tackle to left guard, where that's kind of been an issue for them this past year. And it may not come day one. Maybe they go out there and they start with Reif at left tackle and let Cleveland kind of develop. Because Cleveland, and then maybe you make that move inside. And this is going to be a run-first team. We saw that last year with Kevin Stefanski. They wanted to run the ball. You got Dalvin Cook. Let's run the ball, and then play action. So I think Cleveland helps solidify this offensive line and is going to help them to what they want to do even better. Moving on, the third-round pick, Cameron Dantzler. I think he's a guy they needed more than just one cornerback. They were not going to take just one. I'm surprised they only took 2 with 15 picks. But I think Dantzler gives them someone to work with. Mike Zimmer loves cornerbacks. They only had technically one coming back in Mike Hughes. You got Jeff Gladney. Now you have Cameron Dantzler to kind of mix in there and develop a developmental piece. A guy that's got good size. He's over 6 foot. He's not the most physical, but he does play the ball pretty well. 6'2", 188 pounds. He's got good length. I think he's a guy that just needs to develop a little bit more. He didn't run the fastest 40-yard dash at the combine, but, he's physical. He's got good ball skills. He's got good length and height. I think he'll fit well and be a long-term outside cornerback for them. I think in the future what they want to do is have it so Dantzler and Hughes are on the outside and Jeff Gladney is kind of that slot, and maybe you kind of mix those guys around a little bit. A few other picks that I really liked from the Vikings. In the 4th round, they took a defensive lineman, James Lynch from Baylor. I love that value in the 4th round. I thought Lynch could have easily gone in the late 2nd, early 3rd. To get him in at the 24th pick in the 4th round was an absolute steal in my opinion. Here's a guy who is kind of a bit of a tweener. He kind of played Baylor ran a 3-4 defense, so he's a 3-4 defensive end, but he showed power. He showed I think he could be a guy that lines up as a defensive end. I think he could be a guy that lines up as a 3 technique, and I think that's where the Vikings are going to use him, is that 3 technique and interior pass rusher. Once again, not this ultra athlete as a defensive lineman, but he knows how to get penetration. He knows how to use his hands. He's got enough quickness and explosiveness to his game. The Vikings, they cut their last 2, their starting defensive tackles from last year are both gone. So they could use the pass rusher, and to get James Lynch in the 4th round, I thought that was a complete steal. Rounding it out, also in the 4th round, a couple picks later, they took Troy Dye, a linebacker out of Oregon. I think Dye's a good NFL. He's going to be a good role player in the NFL. He's not going to come in and be a star for them, but they don't need him to be a star. They've already got Eric Kendricks, and they've got Anthony Barr. They just could use a guy behind him that's a physical, tackler. He's not great in coverage, but he's an early down run defender, and I think he's going to be a guy that plays well on special teams. So to get that type of guy in the 4th round that maybe can develop and eventually replace one of those guys when they leave in free agency or cut or whatever it may be down the road, I think he can develop into that starter. But at a minimum, he's going to be their 3rd linebacker, a strong side linebacker in that as an off-ball linebacker, and I think he'd have a lot of success. They've got a few other guys. I think KJ Osborne in the 5th round's got a chance to be a contributor, a 4th or 5th receiver, special teams guy. Josh Metellus from Michigan, a safety, is another guy. They've developed safeties. Andrew Sendejo came in and had success with them. Anthony Harris was a guy that was an undrafted free agent that's developed into a good starter. I think Metellus is a guy that's going to fill that same type of role, be a backup special teams guy, and keep an eye on him down the road. Kenny Willekes, defensive end from Michigan State, is someone else to kind of keep an eye on. 7th round pick, so, you're just taking a chance on a guy. High motor, but high sack production at Michigan State. They need some help at defensive end, so he's going to get a chance to come in there. Sub-package pass rusher, keep an eye on him. And the only pick that I didn't like with the Vikings was in the 7th round, they took Iowa quarterback Nate Stanley. I just think if you're going to take a quarterback in the 7th round, why are you taking Nate Stanley? He's not, to me, he doesn't have a lot of potential, but like I said, it's a 7th round pick, so are you really losing too much on him? I mean, I just personally would have rather had other guys there. I mean, you took him. He was the last quarterback taken, so at least you didn't take Tommy Stevens. But I just think, a guy like him, you can pick up as an undrafted free agent. I just, once again, I think I'm harping on a 7th round pick way too much, but I would have rather had an Anthony Gordon. I would have rather had a Steven Montez over that because I think they have more upside.